All right, you know what? I'll just ask it because even though I kind of know what the answer might be,
Hmm.
I'll ask it anyway.
Okay.
Um, Only because your name kind of reminds me of someone else.
Mm.
Are you familiar with RC Fox?
Oh my goodness, I knew that question was about to come up.
Oh,
MSCA
yeah.
right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been mistaken, like having some kind of relation with the guy before. I'm not related to him, if that's part of the question. But
No, no, no.
I have looked at him and been familiar with him, especially from what I've uh, heard from Ave. And I just want to say this one thing, especially. I mean, when I saw the fursuit of the guy, that was, I gotta say, that's probably been the most interesting and adorable fursuit I've ever seen in my life. I will say that much at least.
Well,
Um,
I'm not gonna pester you too much about that. I'm just gonna say, in the situation that he was in,
mhm.
because I don't know all the facts, so I'm trying not to
Right.
go into something that may be wrong.
Okay. Fair enough.
As far as I know,
Yeah.
and I might be wrong, I'll own it. I'll eat it if I'm wrong.
Gotcha.
He was accused of some pretty malicious stuff, but
Right.
not convicted yet.
Hmm.
All right, I don't think he went up in front of a judge yet. He didn't get
Right.
convicted, so as far as America's law is concerned, he was still innocent until proven guilty.
Correct.
In the situation that he was last year,
Yeah.
do you, oh man, do you think this is such a hard question to ask?
Hey, I usually get those. Being again, don't feel free to go. Feel free to go hard on me if you need to.
Although it's just
Okay.
hard for me to bring it out of myself because RC was a little bit of a friend to me. Uh,
Yeah.
I I wonder if all of that drama and all of that stress that was on him
Hmm.
that caused him to take his own life.
Hmm.
Do you think there'd be any kind of redemption, any kind of forgiveness for doing something like that? I mean, like, let's say he really was just falsely accused, just
Yeah.
because we don't know if he really was or if he wasn't, because he killed himself the day before he was supposed to go up in front of the judge.
Right.
So nobody really knows except for him, and he's dead.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think he was innocent.
Right. So
I think he was innocent, but Dog Patch wanted to make a big scene about it.
well, Dog Patch likes to
Patch
make
makes
big
a
scenes
mess
about
of
everything.
everybody.
But
That
let's
blood is on
let's not
his
make
hands if he's innocent.
right. So let's get to that. So let's say this. Regardless whether he was guilty or innocent, and he does this.
That blood is on Dog Patch's hands,
All right. Well,
essentially.
let's not bring him into this. Let's
Okay.
focus on the topic here. So the question. So let me see if I get your question right. So based on what happened and he took his life, you believe that there's any redemption or any salvation for him, even after that, right?
Um, is there still salvation for someone who takes their own life in if they just went through a mental breakdown and they really don't know what they're going through?
Mhm.
Because that's what I'm assuming he went through. He was having a bit of a meltdown, and that's kind of why he killed himself.
Well, here's how I would deal with it because I have had to wrestle the same kind of problems considering the fact that I've lost one of my exes. Um, actually,
I
she
mean,
died.
I'm sorry for being a jerk about it.
No, dude. You're not being a jerk.
But,
Don't even think that. You're
but no,
perfectly fine for asking
I'm
such.
saying this because I don't believe he went to heaven or hell because I don't believe in heaven or hell. I'm
Right,
just I'm just
right.
curious what your
But you're
thoughts are, what your
right.
opinion
What
is.
right exactly. And so my opinion on this would be this: that based, as I said, I've gone through this before. My one of my exes killed herself with a shotgun, and then
Oh,
my brother
God.
lost.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I've gone through it where it's been an emotional thing for me, and I've had to look into these problems because I've asked the same thing. Because I remember that day that happened, uh, one of my friends that was friends with her, as soon as they told their mom that, mom was like, "Oh well, no need to grave, he's going to hell." And
Sorry.
that kind of no, that's okay. That kind of bothered me when I heard that was a response from somebody. So I decided to look into it.
Yeah, like who are we
And
to judge who's going to hell or who's going to heaven?
right, we can't make that decision, and that's why ultimately the issue of salvation and redemption is by grace through faith. And the issue then comes to this: what goes through that mind? You can even have things like deathbed conversions, for example, where that person has been an atheist, for example, all their life, and if they do put their faith and trust in him at that moment, before their death, then they are saved because they are saved by their faith and that they repent and they turn to that. So when it comes to what happened with RC Fox, we don't know what went on to his head. That's between him and God. And so for what we know, depending on where he is, and like I said, you said you were kind of friends with him, and I know there's some people in here that were friends with him. So they whatever they know, they can be with him on that. But even then, if there is a moment in that piece, in that time, that he manages to, because, for example, let's take some of the two situations that are popularly known for with suicide: hanging by rope and the monoxide thing in the garage. You still have a bit of life in that time, and so you got something going on in your mind, and you never know what could come up in that, including the fact that God reveals himself. And that would be probably the only way. It's not through an evangelist or some sort. It is God himself who then reveals the truth, and it's up to that person to accept it or not. So that point, there is always some point of hope of salvation and redemption that is done. And I remember I've even looked at people that were missionaries, and they suffer through persecutions and depressions that they get, and they even have suicide thoughts themselves. But the issue is that they still believed and would regret those decisions. Even some that managed to live on, they still say that the last thing that still went through their mind was that they regret doing that decision even before it killed them, and then they had to been brought back to life. So again, depends on what he is thinking. And for me, I can't make the decision on whether or not if he's in heaven or hell. I leave that up to God. And in my opinion, after hearing everything I have heard about RC, I hope that he is indeed in heaven. If I were to take a guess, I would probably say yes, because I think so far he was a model to be a good, decent individual by caring for those around him, bringing joy and laughter to some of those around him.
The
So,
two things that get me is, I commented on one of his FA posts, or if it was Twitter or something. I commented on, before I ever met him. I commented on something, and we got to going back and forth. And then the first time I seen him in Anthrocon 2015, treated me as if we were friends for 10 years. Then I seen him again at Anthrocon 2016. Then he came up here for Apocalypse in Connecticut, and you know what? I made him feel welcome here. And at the time, my ex got really drunk and passed out, and it's hard to move a 250-pound mechanic to one side or the other of the bed. The other roommates, they were doing other naughty kind of things. I'm not gonna. So I just was having none of that. So I went downstairs to spend the whole night downstairs by myself. He sees me walking into the game room. He's walking out of the game room. He looks at me. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" He sees, because like my face is all weirded out and I'm just angry. Oh, nothing. That guy's drunk. I can't move him, and that guy is doing other things with another guy, and I'm like having none of that. So I'm gonna spend a night down here in the game room. Oh my God, I need to stay with you. That guy stood with me all night, made me feel better, made me laugh. He was a really good guy. And the thing that kills me the most about it is that the fandom that he loved the most, the fandom that he cared for the most, crucified him before he went up to the judge to see if he was really guilty or innocent.
yeah.
That's what kills me the most. I mean, it's almost 1 year that he's been dead, and I've had my little meltdown and cried and this and that and the other. So I'm okay with it. I miss my friend, but it still angers me a little bit how people can just absolutely destroy somebody without knowing the truth.
Yeah, and that's
Sorry
that's
for this
why.
whole rant.
No, man. We allow that kind of stuff here because to me, I mean, sure, we have silliness and fun here, but to me, I think there's also time for seriousness, and the topics like these, I think, need to be discussed, so that because no one might else want to talk about that kind of stuff, and you never know that could help out in more ways than we can imagine. So I'm glad you asked this question because as much as I've heard stories about him, whether they be of the bad or the good, they're always something that make me wonder and make me wish that I had a chance to meet him. That's the one thing that I wish that could happen is that I would have a chance to go see the guy.
I will say, the night he killed himself, I was talking to him, and he told me that he believes in reincarnation, and that maybe he could come back in the future.
I, of course, don't agree with reincarnation, but I mean, as far as what he says, I mean, again,
it made me feel better.
Right.
I don't know.
That I do believe in one thing, though. In some way, I do kind of affirm a reincarnation, and if he is a believer and if he is in heaven, the Bible does say that when the new heaven and the new earth begin, we are gonna be given new bodies. So yeah, in some state, if we want to consider it like that, yeah, he'll be getting a new body, be coming in a new form.
Can I have my new body now? Because this one is really old and decrepit.
I'm 24. I'm already complaining about a leg, so you're gonna have to wait in line like me, buddy.